I've always experienced a high barrier to entry with classic JRPGs. It's not that classic JRPGs are hard, they're just obtuse. Everyone that I've tried as an adult has led me to some early frustration as I inevitably get stuck because of some poorly telegraphed instructions. Battle mechanics on the surface are easy to engage with, but many classic JRPGs seem to leave some important nuances unexplained. These require a deep dive into an instruction manual or a 20-minute excursion into a YouTube video. This is a function of these classics. They demand that you dig deeper and think more. They were made during an era when folks expected to spend more time learning about a game before fully grasping it. And heck, I like this too. This barrier to entry reminds me of the barrier to entry in Souls games. They are similarly obtuse in narrative and mission style. Basic mechanics require a guide to understand, and one is only free to enjoy these games once they've studied by watching guides, lore videos, or banging their head against a wall. There is no problem with demanding more thought from your players. Depth makes a game feel real and immersive, but unfortunately can also be frustrating when not properly scaffolded. This barrier of entry is strange for JRPGs because they're a pretty relaxed genre. It doesn't take a lot of effort to enjoy these games once you understand them, but it takes a lot of extra homework to be able to see them for what they truly are. Which is why it's so weird that when I tried Pokemon, it immediately grabbed my interest and pulled me through the entirety of the game. Pokemon is a JRPG through and through. You have a grand quest, you fight in turn-based battles, you can equip items to boost your party's stats, and you must build your party around weaknesses encountered throughout the many dungeons. There are towns with various shops and secrets to explore, and a vast open country to map out. On paper, Pokemon is very much the same as many other JRPGs. So then, why did Pokemon resonate so much? To this day, Pokemon outsells not only every JRPG on the planet, but also every other video game franchise in the world. Total franchise sales boast 480 million units sold worldwide, with the next best-selling franchise being Final Fantasy at less than half that, sitting at 185 million. Game Freak figured out how to perfect a genre by Pokemonifying it. They Pokemonified JRPGs, and by looking at how they did this, we can learn from their success, and we can learn how to improve upon an already solidified genre as well. Game Freak did two things to the JRPG genre that to this day still help the Pokemon franchise to feel both accessible and fun. First, they make the player's objectives extremely clear, without taking away too much player agency. And second, they gamify some JRPG genre staples in new and more intuitive ways than previous monster capturing games have. To showcase these changes, let's focus on two games for comparison. The original Pokemon Blue, as well as Dragon Warrior Monsters 2. Dragon Warrior opens with a deep fantasy setting and narrative approach. You go to an island and get chased by a prince and his demon monster thing. The demon then goes down into a well with this boy because they stole a package from you, and they pull the navel from the island. And then you're sent through a door by the demon monster who pulled out the navel from the island because now the island is sinking, and you must go through this door to find a replacement navel so the island doesn't sink. Along the way, if you beat some monsters, they'll randomly join your party because that's how it works in Dragon Warrior Monsters. Now, fine. Sounds interesting, but hear this one out. In Pokemon, you move to a new town, and down the street lives a famous professor who studies magical beasts. It's your dream to learn about them. You get tangled up with him one day, and he offers you a beast of your own. But you get to choose from one of 3 that all have a base element attached to them. He then sends you on a very clear mission to make your Pokemon stronger and to catch as many as possible while collecting gym badges along the way. Pokemon makes the player's objectives clear by intuitively weaving them into the story. The naval story is fun. It's anime, it's quirky and magical, there's nothing wrong with it, but there's no denying that the closer to reality Pokemon story and the clear goals laid out by the Pokemon narrative are more immediately immersive and relatable. When I was 7, I didn't know what a naval was, and I guess if I did, I wouldn't think it was something you could remove from an island. Even still, if I knew that, going on a quest to find the magical navel sounds far less appealing than becoming the most powerful monster lord and collecting all these awesome shiny badges from other powerful monster lords. The clear choices and goals that Game Freak create for the player help you to get immersed in the world instead of being confused or feeling lost. Game Freak empowers you, even though you're about to enter a vast world completely on your own. You can see how many badges you have and how many Pokemon you have left to catch. These 2 North Stars allow you to explore the world freely without angst, as you know that every encounter makes you stronger or gives you a new member, thus leading you closer and closer to completing your 2 goals. Every minute you spend in Pokemon adds to the consistent and tangible progress that you make along the way. Secondly, let's take a look at monster catching. Monster catching is far less obtuse in Pokemon as it is in Dragon Warrior. Game Freak took something classic from JRPGs, gaining a party member, and gamified it in an extremely intuitive and engaging way. In Dragon Warrior, it's completely up to chance, it's very random, you don't really have that much control over when you gain a new party member or when you get the option to accept a new party member. In Pokemon, you have these slots that show you how many Pokemon you can carry at once, and you buy these fun-looking balls that you throw at monsters. It's still left to chance if you catch them, but you can increase your odds by weakening them or throwing a better ball. These simple changes add to the immersion factor and add another mechanic to engage with. Now, at each town, you're looking to see if there's a new type of Pokeball that will increase your odds of catching them. You're also in more control as the player. You choose if you have a capture encounter with a monster. It's not completely random. Game Freak took this staple of JRPGs, that of gaining a new party member, and added depth to it. Capturing does not involve long and awkward conversations like in Shin Megami Tensei, or long-winded missions like in Suikoden 2. You get to decide when you gain a party member, and the encounter is distilled down to a brief push and pull scenario as you try to win the new party member over with your resources. Yes, this is a bit dumbed down, but it distills what is fun about gaining a party member. There should be some tension when gaining a member. You should want them really bad, and then you should feel a sense of challenge when trying to win them over. But if it feels too random, or if it's too drawn out, that fun factor is lost. Game Freak's gamification of a genre staple adds depth to the party making without adding any unnecessary layers of confusion. Building your party is clear, maintainable, and fun. I could go on and list every minute improvement Pokemon makes to the JRPG genre, but I want to extend this to other games that have taken this approach and specifically talk about how to apply this approach to games that you're creating. The idea is to find a genre that is well fleshed out and see if you can find ways to improve upon genre tropes in a clear or intuitive way. The key is to figure out what core mechanics make a genre fun, and then to figure out how to best communicate those to the player in a most fun and immersive and digestible way possible. Zelda has been doing this to itself from the beginning. Every time a new Zelda game comes out, it Pokemonifys itself again and again. Your main goal is always clear. You also have side goals, but they offer you clear objectives to go after between the main objectives. In the old games at least, there is no cumbersome quest screen to keep you on task. You simply go to each dungeon to find the main item, and you gain power along the way, and that will help you gain access to the final dungeon. It is all very simple, yet this is what makes it satisfying. These are games stripped of anything unnecessary so as to allow space for the player to fill the world with their attention. These are extremely important lessons to adhere to as a solo developer. Simplifying the concepts you are trying to convey to the player not only makes your game more fun, but can also lighten the load on development time. You should always be asking yourself, how can I simplify this system? Concluding, Pokemonifying your game is just another way to say, keep it simple, stupid. This is the design philosophy I try to stick to, only because this is how my brain works, and this is how the games I like to play do it. This does not mean that this is the end-all be-all. You have crazy fools out there making games like Caves of Cud and Dwarf Fortress, filling their games with as much systemic complexity as possible, and is, at least to me, is extremely unintuitive, but people love these games. If that's you, then do it, man. But still, I think that if you can add aspects of refined simplicity, especially to goals of the game, then you'll have a winner on your hands in no time. Thanks for stopping by. Peace.